Hey guys, it's Blayde again from Cardio Security, and we've got this gorgeous bagged, turboed 2002, and we've got the owner here, Jake, to have a look at it, and we'll go through the whole car. Jake, hello mate.
How's it going?
All good? Right, so talk to me about the car. What's going on here?
Well, this is my 2002 Turbo Resto mod, I call it. It did start life as a 1502 about 5 years ago, but as you can see, changed quite a significant amount on it since.
So for the viewers that don't know, what is a 1502?
1502 is a more poverty version of the 2002. They made it, late 70s oil crisis came about, so they made a more economical version of that particular engine, and they removed a load of stuff from the car to make it cheaper and more economic to buy for the, for the average person, I guess.
Okay, cool.
BMW 1502.
As poverty as basic as you can get, which in a way worked out well for me because it meant it was cheaper, and the fact that majority of them were based in Europe, like this is from Italy, so it's left-hand drive. Not many of them were in the UK, and that was something I wanted, was it being left-hand drive, so it gave the proper replica sort of look, you know.
Yeah, cool man. Well, so let's have a walk around. So obviously looking at it straight up, it's a beautiful looking car and it's slammed on the floor. So I'm assuming you're using airlift performance, right?
I am, yeah. So air ride setup, I'm using E30, BMW E30 front bags. Same as an E30, you have to chop the bottom knuckle. The O2 knuckles pretty much just weld straight on. All I've had to do is elongate a couple of the holes, and it mounts straight in.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty
it
straightforward.
sits well.
So talk to me about the wheels here. So what have we got?
Well, these wheels are BBS E30s, genuine magnesium centres.
Nice.
Spec wise, we've got 15 by 8.5 front, 15 by 9 rear. It's a bit of a weird setup because the barrels are only 4-inch, both front and rear, so the lips are actually wider than the actual barrels. Yeah, so it's a bit of a different setup. But these exact wheels, I took a picture of them on a car some years ago. I used to have an E30 before this. And I always wanted these like this specific set of wheels, but they would have been too small on my E30. And I remember seeing them and I absolutely loved them. And then not long after buying this and sort of getting involved with the project, they come up for sale. I was like, it's got to be. So the wheels sort of inspired a good amount of the build. I sort of built the car around the wheels for certain.
Yeah, that's usually the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have the car pretty standard, you get the wheels and you're like, right, it's time to do some serious
That's
work.
it, yeah, you know, you make the car fit the wheels.
Yeah. So then, obviously talking about the arches, I'm assuming you put them on yourself.
Yes.
So are they factory arches? You've made them yourself?
So they are turbo, so this is a full-blown turbo replica. The arches and the front spoiler and the rear spoiler are all available from a company called Jamic. They specialise in all the 2002 parts and things like that. And it's a fiberglass copy of the original kit. Where the real work come in was the rears was easy, but it was the front because we wanted to get the front air dam sat quite close to the ground, which meant manipulating and modifying where the front flare sat, because obviously where it meets towards the front. That took a lot of work.
But at least you have that option to be able to move. I mean, normally you don't have the option to be able to move your arches where you want your wheels to sit.
And that's the beauty of like the fiberglass, and they are, as they are original, just bolt-on arches. And where we had them mounted originally, I wasn't happy with, and we ended up having another go. And whilst it's a bit of a faff then having to fill in the original holes and stuff, it's not like you've fiberglass blended it in and that's it, you're committed. So we had another go at it, and I'm happy with it now and how it sits when it's aired out. So.
Looks awesome. Right, so moving on, let's look at the interior, because this looks the nuts in here.
So yeah, seats are quite a recent addition. I've had the Recaros in since I built the car, but the centres and that I've had trimmed literally beginning of this year. So as soon as I saw the pattern, I was like, got to be done. It matches the turbo stripe, really well, and I've also got the M Sport stitching on the wheel. So yeah, a good friend of mine, James from Auto Trim Systems, sorted me out, literally got it turned around within a couple of days. And I was unsure at first. I was like, are they going to be a bit too loud? Are they going to be a bit too much? But they're probably now my favourite thing about the car. They just tie in the interior to the exterior so well.
It does work really, really
very
well.
happy with the seats for sure.
Yeah. Right, so now we're in the car. It's quite spacious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's quite a spacious interior for a relatively small looking car.
Yeah.
Obviously there's only 2 seats in there now. You've got the big cage in the back. And the clocks, are these original clocks?
So the very left hand one, so the fuel and temperature gauge, that is the only original clock. The sensor, so the speedo and the tacho are actually reproduction. And the speedo itself is GPS driven, because one of the biggest issues with this being factory, it was gear driven. It had a cable going into the gearbox.
Yeah.
Obviously that's all gone with the engine swap. So now that's GPS driven, which is a nice easy solution. I didn't have to mount a bracket with a little trigger wheel or anything like that. But what's nice about that is it also has a digital readout for your mile an hour as well, as well as your trip counter, and you can cycle between quarter mile timer, and all this unnecessary stuff that I'll probably never use, but it's just cool to have. And then the same for the tacho, same company, and I've just asked for them to copy the design essentially of the original, just so they look OEM.
No, they do look. I wouldn't, to be fair, I wouldn't have ever guessed that they weren't original.
Got the usual gauges. I've got my oil pressure, oil temp, and boost. Renault USA steering wheel, which I absolutely love this steering wheel. It's brilliant.
You've got the nice BMW stitching in there.
Yeah, stitching to match, and then AKG short shifter or chassis mounted shifter. And then apart from the cage and that, the interior is like there's nothing fancy going on with the door cards. But it's how I want it. It's simple. It's quite motorsport-esque without going too far and stripping it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do quite like the interior. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, this is cool. Well, talking about the boost gauge, you've turboed this car, haven't you? Right. Okay, so you've not gone for the smallest turbo in the world. Looking at it, that's a pretty small 4-cylinder engine with a pretty substantial turbo on it. So, go on, run through it with me. What turbo is that?
It's a Garrett GT3271. Bit of an oddball turbo. It's basically Garrett's version of a Holset HX35. Used on diesel trucks and things like that. It isn't the most efficient modern turbo, but I come from an era of loving Sierra Cozzies and the big old turbos and lag, and you know. And I sort of wanted to build the car whilst I could have it a bit more economical in terms of boost and stuff. I like the idea of fitting it into like a sort of period correct type thing, and I feel like it suits it quite well. So, and it was cheap. External wastegate with screamer straight to atmosphere.
Nice.
And then the engine itself was an M42 B18, which is out of an E30 318 IS. So standard, it's a 1.8 twin cam 16 valve, obviously naturally aspirated. They produce around 140 brake horsepower. They're a good engine, and by this point of me wanting to do an engine swap, a few people had already boosted these engines. The engine is somewhat built. Me and a friend rebuilt it. Apart from the bottom end, that was done professionally because I wouldn't want to have a go at that. Tolerances and things. So we rebuilt it from a short block and threw everything onto it. First time, just had a go, really. So we had to learn somehow. The only way to learn was just to do it.
It's good that you've done majority of the car yourself. You've had a go at the really mechanical side of it, of building the engine. So it's good to see that. So what kind of power is this running at the moment?
We had it dynoed just over a year ago at 289 it made at 12 PSI. We then found a very small boost leak because I was originally running a different ECU, and I had the map sensor was separate, whereas now it's built into the ECU. And where we rerouted it all, we didn't realise that we hadn't blanked off the original port for the map sensor. So we had a very small boost leak. So we then estimated more, probably around 300, but we're now at 14 PSI a boost. We've crept it up a little bit more. I'd guess by the old bum dyno, probably about 320, something like that.
That's plenty. There's plenty of power for that kind of weight.
Yeah, whilst sometimes I do want to hunt for more power, I just know that I won't really use it and I'll probably just scare myself.
No,
which is kind of half the objective.
Yeah,
but
you're probably at a good point now where it's usable power all the time, obviously, unless it's wet. So yeah, I mean that's cool, and it's a nice clean engine bay as well. You've done well there.
Luckily the O2 engine bays are quite simple and minimalistic, so there hasn't been much engine bay shaving gone on, so to speak. I've had these panels made to cover, there's a rain tray in there where I've got a lot of the loom sort of hidden away, so I had these panels made to hide all that. There's not actually been a lot of actual filler work or anything in the engine bay there. That's the good thing about the older cars, they're quite simple. And this thing just fitted in, and that was it really.
I mean, you're running V2 management, right?
I am, yeah.
So where's your controller? Because I can't see it in the interior.
It is hidden away nicely.
All right.
Just in there in the original ashtray. Just tucked away nice and neat.
So I'm assuming you could just pull that out of there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had it so I can pull it out. Most of the time I just leave it in. It's quite accessible in there, but I just thought it was a nice little touch to keep the original ashtray and just to utilise space that was in the car from factory. I quite like, I'm one of those people that'll walk around a car and look for the challenge of trying to find the air ride when I'm convinced it's got to be on bags. So I know it probably doesn't trick people, but it's still cool. I like to hide stuff like that away.
Definitely, that's cool. Right, so Jake, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's been a pleasure looking over your car because you've done an amazing job with this.
Thank you.
Kind of to imagine where this would have started as a, what did you say it was? A
1502.
1502, sorry. Obviously this would have been a lot more stock looking, very basic, and you've basically done all this yourself. You've turboed it, you've aired it, you've put the arches on the wheels. Everything in here is essentially your work, and yeah, well done for that, mate.
Thank you very much, appreciate it, cheers.
But yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys have enjoyed the interview. This car's something definitely special, and yeah, we'll see you next time.